Hi, creative community. Michelle Tracy Berger here, coach, scholar, and published writer. I've been thinking a lot about 2024, and some of the videos I made recently are about how do we leap over obstacles? How do we how do we use the metaphor of leaping and leap year to think about like where do we want to go next and how do we get there? So I was reminded of a book on my journey that has made a huge, huge difference. And I wanted to share some observations. So it's called The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. Uh, Conquer Your Hidden Fear and Take Life to the Next Level. Gay Hendricks is a world renowned coach and writer. He's written many, many books. The Big Leap is one of his most famous works. And I thought it was appropriate. It was published in 2009, and thought it was really helpful if you don't know it to talk a little bit about it. And I have a link to the book below. So his premise is basically like that we typically hold ourselves back from taking the big leap into basically our zone of genius. And he says there are four zones that we can be in. One of them is the zone of incompetence. These are tasks and things that we don't do well, right? That there are lots and lots of other people that do things, that we just don't know how to do. We don't do it well. So I'm sure you can think of things like for me, trying to put together a standing desk. I just got a sit stand desk, and like I couldn't really putting things together is not a specialty for me. So that would be in my zone of incompetence, things I just don't do well. The zone of competence are things that we can do, but there are so many more people who can do them so much better. So both in the zone of incompetence and the zone of competence, there are just people that can do things a lot better than we can do. So the time we would have to allocate to do something well in our zone of competence is nothing like, someone who, knows how to do this. So for example, creating content in Canva, I can do that. It could be in my zone of competence. It's just that there are lots of people who can do it so much better than me. And that's why I pay an assistant to help me with that, because that's just not in my zone of competence. Um, so we have the zone of incompetence, the zone of competence, and then the zone of excellence. And what's interesting is that the zone of excellence are tasks and things that we actually do well. So we can get a lot of affirmation for those things that we do well. They are, seemingly they bring us success. But what Gay Hendricks says is that usually if we can kind of get trapped in the zone of excellence because it may not be really basically our heart's desire, right? And so it's something that we have been good at, we're rewarded for, but just there's something that's a little bit off. And he says, it's a trap because that's also our zone of comfort. Because if we're already doing something well, we're being rewarded for it. Why take a big leap? So our zone of genius is something that he wants us to get to. So the zone of genius is thinking about how to get out of, these other areas. The zone of genius, he says, liberating and expressing your natural genius is your ultimate path to success and life satisfaction. Your zone of genius is the set of activities you are uniquely suited to do. They draw upon your special gifts and strengths. And some questions that he guides you through in this book is basically looking very deeply at what do you love to do? What do you really, really love to do? What kinds of things that if you're doing them, they don't feel like work. They may require, physical action and some level of effort, but they don't really feel like work. And then, he asks this question around like, um, what is the combination for you of both satisfaction and abundance in terms of thinking about what you love to do? So what's that ratio? right? And so when you look at all of, you ask those questions, you look at those questions, that's how you come up with your zone of genius. And so I will just say from the time I was um, very young, I had a knack for teaching. Like I literally would, like my younger sister who's 6 years younger than me remembers like I was, I was 9 and she was 3, and I would organize her and her friends and like teach them things, right? So that's a part of me. There's always been that part of me that's a teacher. I like to communicate ideas. But so that's my zone of excellence. I'm a professor, and I love being a professor. There's so many things that I love about teaching. But my zone of genius is really writing, and writing, particularly writing, inspiring people. Um, that's what I love to do. That's, it does not feel like work. So, as in terms of being a coach, I'm one of those coaches that really doubles down on mindset. I love, thinking about mindset inspiration. Those are things that I just enjoy doing. I love to do. So, as you're thinking about this year for you and you're thinking about your creative work, um, you know, ask yourself those questions. What do you love to do? Where are the kinds of activities that don't really feel like work? And, what's this area of the connection between or relationship between high satisfaction, feeling abundant, in terms of the kinds of activities that you're doing? And then you get to do, so he has, once he lays that out, right, and he starts saying, okay, well, how do you live in your zone of genius? That takes the whole book. But some things that I find really helpful is he says, when you're getting into your zone of genius, when you're moving out of your zone of excellence into your zone of genius, you're going to find what he calls upper limit problems. That somewhere along the line, as you live more fully into this idea of the zone of genius, you're going to confront some challenges. And he calls them upper limit problems. And there's a lot of people who have taken his work, and you can find a lot on upper limit problems. But just briefly, I'll say that basically, it the more we live and try to manifest in that zone of genius, we will find that part of us believes on some subconscious level that we can't have too much love, joy, abundance, however it shows up for you, that we're going to kind of hit this um, upper limit problem. And he breaks it down into a couple of different areas. Like we'll feel disloyal. We may feel like we're outshining other people. Um, we may not feel worthy. And those of you who have followed me for a long time, I do a lot around worthiness and deserving. So most of us do not see that modeled for us as creative people, either in our family of origin or in our peer group, that it takes a while for us to feel that we're even worthy, that it's possible to have a creative life that sustains us and supports us, and that's successful, but then that we also feel worthy of that. So I do a lot of work around those kinds of issues. So check him out, check the workout. I think it's so powerful. And I think 2024 is such a great time, given that it is leap year, we have an extra day. We're at the beginning of the year still. Check out his work and see if it resonates with you, and think about, where are you in those 4 zones? Most of us do try not to stay in the zone of incompetence, but you're probably in that zone of excellence. And so, are there ways that you can think differently about that? And like, what would living in your zone of genius look like and feel like? How would you embody that? All right. Also, I have going on this declutter challenge. I've talked about this in other videos. I feel like there are 3 transformational practices that have been so impactful for myself and my coaching clients. They include gratitude, expressing gratitude, and I've done a video on that. Affirmations, I'm going to do a video on that, and decluttering. And I have a special declutter challenge for creative people going on right now, and you can find out all the details below. Thanks so much. And click and subscribe if you haven't subscribed to this channel. Thanks. Take care.